Hello, and this is your walkthrough for your week one problem set. This one's pretty unique, this problem set, because it's just kind of getting used to vocabulary, and I promise that this week we are going to be very lenient with the grading, and I just want to give you an idea of what my expectations are for this kind of problem set. So I'm going to walk you through it, and you can hopefully figure out what I need from kind of the clues and hints I'm giving you as we walk through this. So without much further ado here, in this first problem, it says here's an excerpt from an article on nursing. And if you read this paragraph, I'm not going to read it to you, it tells you, okay, we want to sample some nurses about some specific things. Here's how we're going to collect the sample. And basically, what this paragraph is doing is it's telling you what the population is. And a population is really the large group of people that you're taking the sample from. So again, your population is the large group, and the sample is the group that you actually get data returned from. So let's say I wanted to do some polling data for an election, and I was looking for, let's say, who the next mayor of the city of Rochester would be. My population would be voters in the Rochester city area that could vote for a mayor, and then my sample might be every 10th person I see walking out of, let's say, Sticky Lips one day, assuming that they could vote. So population is the group you're trying to sample from, and then your sample is where you actually collect the data. So in here, the first thing I ask about is, what is your population? So I'm looking for, all right, you're sampling nurses, but are we sampling from all nurses? Because obviously all of you are nurses, but there are subsets of nurses. So the question here is, what's your population? What kind of nurses are they? Everybody, or maybe a subset? Your sample then is who you actually get the data from. So the people who gave you information, that's your sample. So look back at the paragraph and then tell me where your sample comes from. And then last but not least, your sampling method is what I described to you before. Your sampling method could be, I asked every 10th person who came out of Sticky Lips, which is a barbecue place in Rochester. I know not all of you are from Rochester. And I decided what was going on. Or I asked every 5th person who came out of the public library downtown if they were a registered voter and if they'd be voting for mayor. Up here, it tells you how they reached out to nurses and how they ended up selecting that subset of their population. And so you're just going to read the paragraph and try to describe that to me in your own words. What are my expectations here? My expectations are absolutely on par on what you can do. I want you to, in your own words, as a non-statistician, a non-mathematician, as a nurse who's trying to understand statistics for the first time, I'm just looking for, do you understand that your population here is your big group, that your sample here is where you got the data from, and that your sampling method is, okay, how'd I get that data? Number two, you want to do a study using the following research problem. Is there a significant difference in blood pressure as measured by two common methods of taking each patient's blood pressure? Identify an appropriate population to study, an appropriate sample, and creating a sampling plan. In other words, how would you design and conduct this study? So if part of this course was, hey, I want you to do a small study, how would you plan it out? Now, there are many answers to this problem, and I'm just trying to get you to the point where you'd say, okay, what if I was going on to a master's program or a PhD program where I had to do some action research? What would I do to get that? So let me give you a different example here. This says, is there a significant difference in blood pressure? Let's pretend I said, is there a significant difference in temperature monitoring if I was using two different methods of collecting a child's body temperature? Okay, so let's say our two different methods are temporal thermometer and oral thermometer, and you'd probably be laughing at me right now because I honestly just moved my hand over my forehead and pointed at my mouth like you guys can see me, but you can't. Anyways, so let's say you wanted to know, is there a significant difference between the temperature you get temporally or orally when taking a temperature on children? So then you'd say, all right, my population of interest is going to be children in the, forgive my incorrect use of verbiage here, I am not a nurse, I am a mathematician and a teacher. Let's say our population of interest are children on the 7th floor regular wing of a hospital, um, and that's my population of interest. Now, I'm not going to go and get everybody's temperature in that wing. So my population of interest are going to be children, and we could say children ages, let's say, from 5 to 18 on the 7th floor of a hospital. Now, what's my sampling plan? My sampling plan is I'm going to go into even numbered rooms, ask the parents, are you willing to allow me to use your child's temperature, and taking it two different ways for my study. And if the parents say yes, you take two temperatures and you put them down. How will I eliminate bias? How will I collect the data? So how will I eliminate bias? I'm going to only sample every other room. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to just ask the girls because girls are cuter, or I'm only going to ask patients of a certain race, or things like that. So how am I eliminating bias? By kind of systematically selecting the rooms I'm going to go into by saying it's an even number of rooms, so that's a systematic sample. So to determine my sample is going to be everybody who allowed me to take their temperature, possibly up to, let's say, 50 patients over a 1 week period. And that would be that. Okay. How much work am I looking for here? Maybe 2 to 3 sentences for each of these minor questions. Okay. Number 3. All right. So this is where my lack of nursing background really shows through here. On number 3, what I did is I put a whole bunch of data right here. And it says the first 2 columns are the plasma growth hormone for 25 patients with acromegaly. I'm sure I just pronounced that wrong. I apologize. I will show you my bad side too. It says look at the columns for GH and OGH. GH is the raw collected data. OGH is the same data arranged in ascending order. What's the benefit to sorting the data? So I'm just asking you, which of these columns here, the left or the right, would you rather look at, and why? Would you rather look at data that's presented just as you collected it, or data that's ordered? Why? Okay. Then it says, look at the 2 histograms. So these are these things on the left here. One is grouped with a bin range of 50. The other is grouped with a bin range of 10. A bin just means the width of the bars. So this guy up here has a bin range of 10. So it went 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. And these bars represent that there are 5 data values between 0 and 10. There are 6 data values between 10 and 20, and so on. The other one is a histogram bin of 50, 0 to 50, 50 to 100, and so forth. Which histogram gives a better view of the data? Which gives more useful information to the nurse? Now, I'm going to give you a little hint here. Sometimes it feels like, oh, well, I should like the top one because I can see more things. But one of the things that I would often say to my class, if you were in my class right in front of me, is statistics. The point of statistics and the point of pictures in statistics is to portray the most amount of information in the least amount of time. So you need to think about, okay, there's a balance there. Do I want lots of information? Well, in that case, I should just look at the raw data. But that takes me a long time to look at. So we use histograms to kind of group that data and give me a bigger picture. Now, I don't know anything about a plasma growth hormone. Maybe an increasing change of 10 units is meaningless, yet an increase in 50 units is meaningful. I don't know. Okay? So those are the kind of things you're weighing. So basically, I'm asking you, which of these do you like more as a nurse, knowing that this is the plasma growth hormone, and why? And last but not least, what I did here is I got this descriptive statistics with the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, percentile rank, blah, 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 blah. I want you to compare the mean, median, mode, and trim mean. How can you explain the differences among them? Which one do you think is the most appropriate? Okay, so what I'm looking for here is, what is the mean? What does it represent? What is the median? What does it represent? Does it mean something that the mean is higher than the median? Okay. What do the minimum and maximum tell me? I'm just basically asking you, all right, here's some basic statistical analyses on these values. What does this information tell you? And I'll give you a hint. If you look at these columns of data, I've got 3 through like 40, and that's most of my data is 3 through the 40s, and then we jump up to 78, 99, 144, and 292. What I'm looking for here is also, do you understand the impact of this 144 and 292 and what it does to these numbers down here? Then last but not least, I say which is most appropriate to measure your central tendency. Central tendency is mean, median, mode, mean, median, mode, pardon me, and the trim mean. Which of those do you think is the best number to look at if I were to say, okay, the typical person in my study had a growth hormone level of 47? Or did the typical person in my study have a growth hormone of around 27? Which of those seems more purposeful, more indicative of the data that we had up here? Now, hopefully I didn't talk too much on this. I'm trying to kind of keep this light. It was 11 minutes. I promised 10. I always end my videos with a really stupid joke, and my 7-year-old told me one today, so I'm going to tell you. He said, what do you call a donut shaped like a soldier? What do you call a donut shaped like a soldier? A pastriot. 7-year-old joke, but I thought it was cute. Please enjoy your day, and I will be quote unquote seeing you online.